Hi guys, it's Debbie. Today I'm back with another series review because I would like to speak about Gomorrah. Gomorrah is a crime drama series originally created in Italy, but which is now available in different countries, including the United States. Gomorrah is based on a book written by Roberto Saviano, which in 2008 also became a film. All of these three products, so book, series and film, are set in the suburbs of Naples. They speak about mafia and the life of the members of this organised crime system. Naples is a beautiful city in the south of Italy. It attracts thousands of tourists every year. It has one of Europe's largest ports and also one of Italy's best universities. But it unfortunately also has a darker side. The region in which Naples is located is abundant of criminal activity, and unfortunately there is the constant presence of Camorra. Camorra is one of the many criminal organizations which illegally rule the south of Italy. These groups handle drug and weapon trafficking, they counterfeit IDs, carry out assassinations, torture their enemies, demand money from local businesses, and over the years they have influenced and infiltrated every aspect of society, including politics. So what you see on screen or read in Saviano's books is not far from reality for how terrible it might sound. As a matter of fact, Saviano has been living under police protection for many years because of the countless number of death threats he had started to receive after publishing his book. The TV series Gomorrah is set in Naples and in particular in Scampia, a degraded suburb where most of the population is unemployed, drugs are sold and used on the streets, and the local mafia groups set the rules for the inhabitants of the huge and dilapidated apartment complexes in this suburb. Gomorrah mainly speaks of the group led by the Savastano family, which for years has had total control of the area. So the series follows the life of the members of the Savastano family, the people who work for them, and all the other people connected, such as lovers, friends, enemies, and so on. So it mainly focuses on the Savastano family's goals, the way in which it plans to achieve these goals, the obstacles the gang members meet on their way, and their enemies, the other criminal groups which aim at defeating the Savastano family and taking control of the area. The series opens with the arrest of Pietro Savastano, the leader of the Savastano clan, meaning that his wife Imma and his son Gennaro, Jenny, will inherit the leadership of Scampia. From this point onwards, there are a series of cracks and issues within the same group, as its members are reluctant to comply with Imma and Jenny's new rules, while other criminal groups take advantage of these internal conflicts and trying to gain more power in the area. Jenny Savastano is one of the main characters in Gomorrah, although his parents didn't actually want him to be involved in the mafia. When he was younger, they would spoil him with luxurious gifts such as motorbikes or expensive parties in clubs to distract him and keep his mind off the idea of becoming a criminal. After Pietro's arrest though, he feels entitled to continue his father's work and tries to exclude his mother from any decisions. After a journey abroad, he also changes his appearance in an attempt at appearing more intimidating in order to gain more respect. So for example, he styles his hair in a mohawk. But as I said before, the members of the Savastano club, particularly the older members, don't enjoy taking orders by Jenny, as his appearance doesn't conceal the fact that he is barely an adult and has no experience in the field of organised crime. For example, he's never even touched a weapon. But Jenny soon learns what it takes to become a criminal boss and starts to punish anybody who is against him. He also tries to evolve his father's old-fashioned activity in an attempt at keeping up with times. Another main character is Ciro Di Marzio, one of Jenny's best friends. He is older, very quiet, and extremely mysterious. His position in this world is often unclear, so even Jenny starts to doubt who he can trust or not. The Savastano's clan's biggest enemy is Salvatore Conte, which desperately tries to beat them and obtain control of Scampia and Naples as a whole. His tactics also include taking advantage of all the cracks and conflicts which every day are more present inside the Savastano clan. He also tries to offer better jobs and better rewards for whoever will pass onto his side. So most of the characters are the members of the clans, their family and their children, because when it comes down to mafia, nobody is left out. If a family member is involved in organised crime, then everyone else is dragged in. The clan will offer protection and sometimes money and a safe home, but if the member fails to complete his task or betrays the clan, not only will he be punished, but the whole family will suffer the consequences. Gomorrah is absolutely spectacular beautifully because it describes the life of the people living in Scampia, and it appears as a city of its own, with its own rules, leaders, its economy. It is completely separated from the rest of the world. And the criminals which live in Scampia aren't depicted only through their criminal activity, but they are shown as normal people with their normal lives, their relationships, their partners, their affairs, their jobs, their children. And this is the frightening and interesting aspect of the mafia, because anybody can become part of it. The Savastano clan will offer jobs to whoever is in economic difficulty, can't manage to make ends meet, and won't mind doing the unthinkable in order to earn money. As a matter of fact, the mafia aims at recruiting teenagers because they need money and they are greedy of that power that the adults have and which they hear about every day on the streets of Naples. I am currently reading La Paranza dei Bambini, which is Roberto Saviano's new book, which also speaks about mafia, and it perfectly describes this fact of mafia recruiting teenagers, of how they grow up dreaming of having power, of they dream of not being considered kids anymore, buying whatever they want, impressing girls. They spend their evenings outside expensive clubs, dreaming of being inside, popping champagne, flashing expensive clothes. And the mafia promises all this. It promises easy money in exchange for small jobs, maybe carrying some drugs inside a scooter. The kids accept, and then from that moment onwards it's always bigger jobs, bigger rewards, bigger risks. There's no way of getting out of it. There's no way of stepping back for the mafia without being considered a traitor. As a matter of fact, one of the music pieces which makes up the soundtrack of Gomorrah is called Doomed to Live by Mokadelic, and this is exactly the future of the kids in Gomorrah. If they stick to the mafia, they are doomed to living a life of criminality without knowing if they'll make it to the end of the day. This particular piece is usually placed at the end of the episode or during scenes in which the tension is particularly strong or in which there are deep emotions flowing, because the throbbing effect that this song conveys replicates the beating of our heart, and that is exactly the effect that these scenes cause to our body in those particularly meaningful scenes. Another feature I was definitely not expecting was the role of the women, which we wouldn't usually associate with mafia. In Gomorrah, the women are split into two categories. So we have those which 100% comply with the mafia, they swear by it, and they dream of gaining more power. So for example, Imma Savastano or Chanel. And then we have a different category of women which is represented by the wives, girlfriends, mothers, lovers, daughters, which all know that the mafia is wrong. They know what is actually going on, and regardless of this, they never turn the criminals in and protect their beloved ones, still knowing that if something goes wrong, all the family will suffer consequences. So this concept of family is extremely interesting. Another topic connected to this topic of family is guilt. Do these criminals ever actually feel guilt? I think the kids are still too euphoric about this new power to actually start to feel guilt and regret their actions, but I think that some of the older members might feel guilt, not towards their victims but towards their family, which is suffering because of this life choice. Even Ciro, which is one of the most powerful members, is in pieces when he sees the life his daughter has to live, this life in which she is doomed to live. And take a look at this. Jenny is extremely guilty when one of the members of his group accidentally shoots a dog which belonged to a local kid. He feels extremely guilty after this happens and often visits the kid, buys him expensive video games and promises him he will make up for his mistake. But here comes the paradox. Jenny then uses this kid, he exploits him in order to complete one of his missions. So does Jenny actually feel guilt, or is everything in his life just something he can exploit? So here comes the big question. Do these characters still feel love? Are they able to meet somebody outside this world and feel real love and have a real connection? Are they able to feel guilt, pain and love, or are they numb to all of this? Gomorrah leaves this question mostly unanswered in order to leave some mystery surrounding the way these criminals actually think, what the logic behind their actions is. I personally enjoyed the first season more than the second one, as I found the second one's plot slightly slower, repetitive, and many episodes seemed to arrive to no actual conclusion. Also, a more down-to-earth problem was the fact that I found it particularly hard to understand the character's accent in the second season, because in the first season they spoke with the accent of Naples, but they also tried to include some plain Italian in their speeches in order for us to understand the plot better. Instead, in the second season, this feature was abandoned slightly, so I found it hard to understand what they were saying in certain points. But in general, I loved both seasons. I also found them visually stunning, with these beautiful images of a beautiful city but which has a virus at the center of it, hidden in huge concrete buildings covered with graffitis which don't appear as art but as sketches on prison walls. Another feature I would like to point out is one that I also spoke about in my video about nocturnal animals. In Gomorrah, all the men and women belonging to the mafia don't appear as these ugly, weird, creepy guys living in a cave sending out messages to their clan members. Pietro and Imma Savastano appear as a normal 50-60-year-old couple which we could see anywhere buying furniture at the shopping centre. And look at Ciro and Jenny, or most of all Salvatore Conte. They're always neat and clean with these nice smiles and nice clothes. They could easily disguise the fact that they are ruthless mafia lords. And most of all, they are not hidden away in a cave. They're in shops, bars, restaurants. They go to the beach, they take their kids to school. They are absolutely anywhere and you can't tell them apart from any other person. And so, as I said in my video about nocturnal animals, appearances can be deceiving and they can appear in many different forms, including the most beautiful. But remember, beauty is only skin deep. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you liked the series Gomorrah, I would also recommend reading the book Gomorrah by Roberto Saviano or watching the 2008 film. See you soon in a new video. Bye!